All right, let's dive in. Today, we're all about the power of WHY. You know, that idea that Simon Sinek lays out in his book, Start With Why.
Oh, such a good.
We're going to really get into it, unpack it all. It's all about how great leaders inspire, how they get people to take action. It's not just by saying what they do or even how they do it.
Right, it's got to be more than that.
Yeah, there's this deeper level they tap into,
Well,
their WHY.
that's the magic, right?
Yeah, and I love how Sinek uses this idea of the golden circle.
Yeah, with the how and why.
Exactly.
And he makes this point. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
So true. I mean, think about it. It's not about, like, Apple's sleek designs. It's about their why. That challenge to the status quo,
Really?
or Southwest's low fares. It's their why, their commitment to making travel accessible.
And he uses all these examples in the book,
Oh, yeah?
like Martin Luther King Jr.
Powerful examples.
and the Wright brothers,
Yeah.
to show how big of a deal a strong why can be. It's, speaking of the Wright brothers,
Yeah.
think about them for a sec.
Yeah.
They weren't the only ones trying to build an airplane way back when.
Right?
They had this competitor, Samuel Langley. And Langley, he was in a way better spot. Government funding, resources, the whole 9 yards.
Wow.
But Langley, he was all about the fame and fortune that had come with being the first.
I see.
But the Wright brothers, they had this burning why,
It was more than just being first.
way more. This deep belief that if they could get this thing to fly, it would, change the world.
It would change every...
And guess who ended up succeeding?
The Wright brothers, right.
You got it.
So it really was their belief that made all the difference.
Their why was so strong, it brought in this whole team of people who believed it too. They weren't just building a machine. They were, working towards this huge vision.
That's powerful.
And this isn't just like a nice story or something.
No, it's a real lesson.
It shows how a clear why can really lead to success in the real world.
But I think it makes you wonder. It can't just be any why, right?
Right.
Like the book talks about all those ways companies try to manipulate us.
Oh, yeah?
Sales and fear tactics, playing on what we want.
Sinek calls those manipulations, not inspirations.
Yeah, there's a big difference. Think about how many times you've fallen for, a limited time offer.
Oh, all the time.
Or those messages that are like, don't miss out.
Yeah, you feel the pressure.
They might work for a bit,
Yeah, in the short term.
but they don't make you loyal to that brand.
No, it's not genuine.
No, because you're not really connecting to the brand. It's just a reaction to a really clever tactic.
Exactly.
So then how do you build that true connection?
You start with why.
Okay, I like that. Start with why.
Look at Southwest Airlines. Their why, this commitment to the everyday person, it clicks with people.
It just makes sense.
You can see it in everything they do. Their straightforward approach, their friendly employees,
Oh, yeah, they're known for that.
and those consistently low prices.
Yeah.
It's not about tricking people. It's the result of their why, their goal of making flying affordable.
So they're not leading with the low prices. They're leading with that deeper purpose.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But how do you figure out your why in the first place? It's not always obvious, is it?
Not always.
Sometimes it feels like a mystery.
That's where things get really interesting. So, Sinek, he gets into the science of it.
Oh.
How our decisions aren't just, logical.
There's more to it.
So much more. He talks about the part of our brain that makes decisions, the limbic brain.
The limbic brain.
And get this, it doesn't control language.
Really?
Yeah.
So it's like we're making decisions, but we can't even explain them.
It's wild, right?
So is that like that gut feeling we sometimes get?
Yeah, that's your limbic brain talking.
Wow.
Those decisions that just feel right, they often come from the limbic brain.
Interesting.
And they're tied to our why, even if we don't have the words for it.
I see. So we might not know why we're drawn to something, but our brain already knows. It reminds me of that Dr. Seuss story, The Smeeches.
Oh, yeah. Love that one.
Those little creatures obsessed with fitting in, even though those stars on their bellies meant absolutely nothing.
Perfect analogy. We all want to belong, right? And we're drawn to brands and people that match up with what we believe, even if we can't always say why.
That makes a lot of sense. So we've got this gut feeling we're drawn to certain things. But how do we actually build that sense of belonging? How do we get people to trust us, especially when it comes to something brand new?
That's a good question. Sinek talks about this idea called the law of diffusion of innovations.
Okay.
Basically, it explains how ideas spread.
Like go viral.
Kind of. The big thing is reaching a tipping point.
I see.
You need those early adopters, the people who are willing to jump in and try something new. But those early adopters, they need more than just understanding what the thing is.
It's got to be deeper than that.
They have to believe in the why.
So you're saying even the best product can fail if it doesn't connect with people on that why level.
It happens all the time.
The book used TiVo as an example, right?
Yeah, they had a great product. But they had trouble getting people on board at first.
I remember TiVo.
They spent so much time explaining how it worked, all the technical stuff, the
I
what.
thought the why.
They didn't explain why it mattered, why it would change how people watch TV.
So people were like, okay, but why do I need this?
Exactly. Without that why connection, it was hard to build trust and reach that crucial tipping point.
That makes a lot of sense.
So yeah, that deeper connection, it's key,
Absolutely.
especially if you want to be a leader who inspires people.
I'm ready to hear more about that.
Let's get into it.
So we've got to connect with that deeper why, especially if we want to be the kind of leader who inspires people to take action. And you know, the book has a great example of this. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, absolutely.
He really knew how to start with why.
He was a master at it. His message wasn't about, the specific
how-tos.
Yeah, like exactly how to achieve desegregation or voting rights.
Right, those were the what.
His power came from something else, from articulating this really powerful why.
Okay.
His belief in equality, his dream of a society where people are judged by their character and not the color of their skin.
It gave the movement so much more weight. It wasn't just political. It was driven by this deeply resonant why. And that's what moved millions.
It's exactly what great leaders do. They become symbols of their why.
That's a good way to put it. It makes you think about the leaders you admire. Why do they represent?
Yeah, what is it about their purpose that really speaks to you? It's rarely about charisma or personality.
Yeah, it's deeper than that.
It's about how clear and genuine their why is.
And it's not just about inspiring movements. The book also talks about how this why-driven approach can turn around a struggling company. Like what happened with Continental Airlines.
Oh yeah, fascinating story.
They were really in trouble.
They were. Gordon Bethune, their CEO, he had a ton to fix.
Like what?
Outdated planes, terrible customer service, financial problems.
Wow, a whole package.
But he knew that to actually turn things around, he couldn't just focus on the surface level problem.
It had to be deeper.
He had to get to the why.
I see.
He realized something important. You can't have happy customers if your employees aren't happy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So he focused on creating a workplace where employees felt valued.
Where they felt good about the work they were doing.
Exactly. He wanted them to be proud to work there.
That's a big shift.
And he didn't just talk about it.
So what did he actually do?
He made real changes
Like what?
on open door policy. So employees at all levels could talk to him directly.
Wow, he was really accessible.
He even started this program where every employee got a bonus.
A bonus. For everyone.
If the airline ranked in the top 5 for on-time performance,
That's a pretty big incentive.
he wasn't trying to manipulate anyone. It was about getting everyone on board with a common goal.
And aligning those actions with the why.
Exactly.
And it worked.
It did.
They went from being one of the worst airlines to one of the best.
It's amazing what happens when your actions back up your why.
It's really inspiring. But how do we do that in our own lives? How do we tap into that power of why? Does the book give any advice on that?
It does. It does. Sinek says finding your why isn't about making something up.
It's not just coming up with something that sounds good.
No, it's about discovery.
Oh,
It's about looking back at your experiences and finding those times when you felt most fulfilled, most energized.
like what really lit you up?
Exactly.
So how do we do that? What questions should we be asking ourselves?
Think about what truly excites you, what makes you feel alive.
Like what gets you out of bed in the morning?
How kind of impact do you want to make on the world? What values are non-negotiable for you?
So we're not picking a why that sounds good. We're uncovering the why that's already there.
It's about connecting with that core motivation.
I like that. But once you've found your why, how do you get people to hear it? How do you spread that message?
Good question. Sinek talks about building a megaphone.
A mega.
But it's not about being the loudest person in the room.
So it's not about shouting it from the rooftops.
No, it's about communicating in a way that's consistent and authentic.
So you're walking the walk.
Exactly. Your why should be evident in everything you do.
Like in how you work, how you act, even your personal brand.
Think about Apple. Their why, that challenge to the status quo, it's woven into everything they do.
Yeah, you can really see it.
Their products, their marketing, their whole identity. It's not just about buying a cool device. It's about being part of something bigger.
But a strong why can fade if you don't take care of it. The book talks about Walmart, right?
Yeah, their story is a good example of what can happen.
How they were so successful at first.
driven by Sam Walton's why of serving people.
But then things started to change.
What happened?
Well, after Walton passed away, their dedication to serving people, to making quality goods accessible, it got lost.
It's like they lost their way.
They started focusing more on profits and expanding,
And less on people.
and their actions started contradicting their original purpose. So they lost sight of the why that made them successful in the first place.
Exactly. And that had consequences. They made decisions that eroded trust.
With both employees and customers.
It's a reminder that we have to keep checking in with our why.
Making sure it stays at the heart of what we do.
It's not a one-time thing. It's an ongoing commitment.
That's a great point.
So yeah, keeping your why alive, it's crucial.
Yeah, it's like they say, right, what got you here won't get you there.
So true.
You can't just coast on that initial why. You have to keep it alive, keep it going.
It's a constant thing.
And the book doesn't just talk about companies. Sinek also talks about how this start with why idea applies to us. Like, when it comes to finding a career that really feels fulfilling,
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
it can be tough to figure out what you want to do.
It really can.
Yeah.
Sinek talks about these two types of people. He calls them why types and how types.
Okay, interesting.
So why types, they're the visionaries.
The big idea people.
Exactly. Always asking why.
They want to know the reason behind everything.
They're driven by purpose. Always trying to find ways to improve things, to make a real difference.
They're the ones who can see the big picture.
Yeah, they see what others might miss.
But they probably need help making those ideas a reality.
That's where the how types come in.
Oh, okay.
How types are the ones who get things done.
The action takers.
They figure out the logistics,
Mhm.
the step-by-step process to achieve that goal.
So it's like a perfect partnership. The Y type brings the inspiration, the fuel, and the how type brings the engine, makes it all run.
Exactly.
Like with Apple, you had Steve Jobs, the visionary Y type, and Steve Wozniak, the brilliant engineer, the how type.
A classic example. It shows how powerful that combination can be.
They really changed the world.
And Sinek also points out that how types, they can be super successful on their own too.
Even without that Y type partner.
Yeah, they can build businesses, climb the corporate ladder, achieve all those external markers of success.
But is it the same kind of success?
That's the question, isn't it? There's a difference between success and fulfillment.
I see what you mean.
Why types? Because they're so aligned with their purpose. They're more likely to find their work truly meaningful, even if they're not the ones with all the practical skills.
So it's almost like how types need to be more intentional about finding a why that really resonates with them.
Exactly. Something that gives their actions meaning.
It's not enough to just be good at something. You have to believe in what you're doing.
It's about figuring out what you're passionate about,
Yeah.
and then finding a way to use your skills to pursue that passion.
So how do we do that?
Well, it could mean working for a company that lives by a why you believe in, or even starting your own thing. Something that's driven by a why that really lights you up.
It makes you think about what you're working towards. What's
Right.
driving your decisions? Is it just about achieving someone else's definition of success? Or are you chasing a why that truly motivates you?
Big questions, right?
It really makes you think.
And it's not just about our careers. Think about the brands you support,
Yeah.
the organizations you're a part of. Do their actions reflect a why that you believe in?
That's a good point. We vote with our dollars, right?
Exactly.
This whole deep dive has been so eye-opening. It's more than just business advice. It's about understanding what makes us human,
It's about figuring out what drives us.
what makes us tick.
It's about that fundamental human need to be part of something bigger than ourselves, to contribute to something meaningful.
To leave our mark on the world.
Exactly. Whether you're leading a team, choosing a product, or just deciding how to spend your day, starting with why can help you make better choices.
Choices that feel right.
Choices that create a real impact.
So it's not just about what we achieve, it's about the why behind it, and that's what makes all the difference.
Like Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
So powerful.
So as you go about your day, keep asking yourself that question. Why?
Why am I doing this?
What impact do I want to have?
What's the real purpose behind my actions?
Because when you start with why, everything else falls into place.
It's been awesome deep diving into Start With Why with you.
It's been a pleasure.
And who knows, maybe this is just the beginning of your own why journey.
Go find your why.
Thanks for listening, everyone.